We got Packers, Lions, Chiefs, Cowboys, Bengals, Ravens, and then the Black Friday game, Bears, Eagles. Very, very good slate of games. So instead of doing our early top five spreads, we're just going to look at these four games. A couple of them are or would be featured in that segment as usual. But just to recap, last week the early values went 2-1, 3-0 with the best bet values on Thursday, as we mentioned. Just use the site in the interim between Thursday and Sunday to see what the top spreads are that we would otherwise be talking about on Thursday's show. You can always reach out in the Discord, whatnot, if you have any questions. And I will just mention out right now that the top overall probability is in Steelers Bills. Big 68% probability on Pittsburgh plus 4.5. Surface level, I'd say I like that play as the Bills are just kind of in an up and down mess. Steelers have been pretty consistent. One with Mason Rudolph versus the Bears would have nearly won. Sorry, with Mason Rudolph versus the Bears would have covered this number in that scenario. So I'm not going to dive into it because it's a Thanksgiving show, but just letting you know, it's Steelers, Bills atop the probability board, and I like the number early on.
Yep, I agree. I endorse that message. All right, we'll take you kind of game by game through these Thanksgiving and Black Friday games, the primetime type spots everybody's going to be watching, unless you're out shopping, of course. And if you are shopping, 50% off Divers Pro, promo code podcast, just saying. Packers, Lions, the first game on Thanksgiving. My Detroit Lions favored by 2.5 here. Our total is at 49.5. And as we dive into this in the hub, looks like no real sway on the spread, but a decent probability for Lions outright here.
Yep, no edge either side of the spread or total. Actually, a little bit of a negative value. I mean, it's pretty close. You know, they're minus 105 odds there, and we got it 50%. So you're almost getting even money. It's not like a bad value or anything, but the model's just not finding a plus EV opportunity here. Pretty much fair odds for the Lions here, 0.5% edge, but 59% to win, which is pretty substantial for a 2.5 point spread team. I feel like usually we see those a little closer to like 56, 57. So seems like the model's giving Detroit a little bit of a bump here. Maybe home, maybe it's the comfortability of playing on Thanksgiving for them, but absolutely huge game with the NFC North completely hanging in the balance. One game difference between the first place Bears and the third place Lions. Packers smack in the middle of them. As we mentioned, the Bears get the Eagles this week. Winnable game, or losable. We could see this whole division flip though. Totally hanging in the balance pretty much between Thursday and Friday here with how things are going to set up for the final few weeks. Packers won this matchup defiantly in week one. Neither team has looked exceptionally convincing since then. Lots of ups, lots of downs. Packers certainly coasting off of a strong defense. Lions showing as much scoring upside as pretty much any team in the NFL. Seen a much higher offensive ceiling for Detroit, I think, not only compared to most teams in the league, but certainly compared to the Packers, who have been winning some pretty low-scoring games here. They will run into this Packers team that's allowing the third fewest touchdowns. So you're getting, explosive offense runs into a stout defense. Always an interesting way to see those games play out. I think the biggest question in this game is probably going to be on the running side for both teams. How healthy is Josh Jacobs if he plays in this game? He's pretty much said that he would play on Thursday before last game. If he said, if I sit Sunday, I'll be ready to go for Thursday. Seems optimistic. It's not necessarily up to him though, so we'll have to see. Short week does leave it as a bit of a toss-up, kind of TBD. Doubt we're going to see him log probably more than a limited practice this week. Questionable in the practice estimation for Monday, so not a lot of clarity as far as Josh Jacobs' injury is concerned. Emmanuel Wilson filled in with flying colors in this past week, as pretty much as we expected he would, getting just an absolute dominant touch volume, 2 touchdowns, over 100 yards. Might see something similar in this game. However, the Lions have been pretty shut down against the run over their past 4 games. 1 total rushing TD to a running back in that span. J.J. McCarthy and I think Jalen Hurts with 1 in there, but running backs finding it very hard to break the plane against the Lions lately. Meanwhile, Green Bay has allowed a pair of 2 touchdown games in that span, one to Devin Singletary, one to Rico Dowdle, and now you're getting Jahmyr Gibbs coming off of an absolute career game. So the running game is probably going to be the fulcrum of this result. I think you're going to see pretty much hinge on that. Currently, not a big projection for Josh Jacobs. Kind of looking like that Lions defense is going to be very tough for him to combat against. Just 55.6 rushing yards, solid 60% TD probability though. But you're seeing in his odds, I think he's around minus 135. This is a guy who's been minus 280 in recent weeks to score. So significant hit to the upside for the rush for Green Bay. If he sits, should be another big game for Emmanuel Wilson, at least volume wise, but I wouldn't expect 100 yards and 2 touchdowns.
I don't know what to do with this one. I'll be scared. As a Lions fan, I got to be honest. Maybe it's just a history of growing up watching the Lions lose this game, but even in recent years where they've been better, they've won one of their last 8 Thanksgiving games. They're always at home in these games. I mean, last year the lowly Chicago Bears, it needed a final second field goal to win that game. Feels like weird things always happen with Detroit here, and they certainly didn't look good last week. I think I think it makes sense that there would be a lean towards the Lions winning this game, maybe no value on the 2.5 number. I think if I was going to touch it, I'd probably look to Gibbs props, because the more banged up Detroit gets, it seems the more heavily they're just leaning into their superstar running back. I mean, the performance he had last week, like 260 total yards from scrimmage, was something I don't think we've really seen from Gibbs in terms of a work share before. So I don't know. I would lean Detroit to win, but weird stuff happens. I'm probably looking for props, and that's it. There's one more real fun game on Thanksgiving here. The Chiefs at your Dallas Cowboys here. We have a home dog are not dogs, they're wolves situation here. I love to see that. Catching a key number 3.5. What does the model show?
Yeah, pretty good stuff here. 57% almost for the Cowboys, plus 3.5, 3% edge, 53% to the under with 53% to the over. Sorry, 51.5. No edge to speak of there at 0.6%, almost fair odds. And Cowboys money line at just about 41% and plus 152 gets you a little bit of an edge. Not to be a homer here, but I do like the plus 3.5 here. Personally, I think I would lean the under in this one with what we've seen from the Chiefs defense in a lot of games lately and the short turnaround for both teams here. But despite the 6-5 record, the Chiefs have held teams to just 22 total touchdowns this season, which is a really good number. I believe that is third best in the NFL, holding teams to under 200 yards passing. However, been a bit more vulnerable lately. 295 to Bo Nix and his cast of guys, nothing too spectacular there in that passing offense. 273 for Josh Allen and a similarly not inspiring receiving core. Now you have the Cowboys, who have probably the best wide receiver duo in the league right now. So certainly be able to move the ball against KC. I don't know if that means they're going to run up the score and put it over. The model's probability is a little bit, over 50% here, but since the strong bet is on the plus 3.5, that's what I'd be playing anyway. I just don't think it's going to be a very high scoring game. I mean, you saw the Eagles got out to a 21-0 lead and didn't do anything. It was, again, very similar to what we saw in that first game between the Cowboys and the Eagles, where the scoring kind of sputtered in the second half. Not so much for the Cowboys, but as a whole. Cowboys' rushing defense has been just absolutely transformed since the trade deadline with Quinn and Williams under there. Held Ashton Genty to 7 yards on 6 carries. Held Saquon to 22 yards on 10 carries. 90 total rushing yards over the past 2 weeks between RB1s, RB2s, and quarterbacks. Chiefs notoriously very not soft rushing offense, but just plodding rushing offense. No one really dominating. No one looking great. Kareem Hunt took double his season high in carries this past week. Like, not joking. He had 14 previously. He took 30 this past week, and he needed every single one of them to hit 100 yards. Isaiah Pacheco is going to be back, but what I'm seeing from this Cowboys defense lately, I think they're going to do a much better job against the run. It looks pretty bleak for the Chiefs in the projections. This is a Cowboys team, remember, that has been gashed by most teams all year. Isaiah Pacheco, 40 projected rushing yards. Kareem Hunt, 29. Patrick Mahomes, 28. A much different outlook for teams against the Cowboys than we've seen lately. And since the Chiefs have not really had luck establishing the run, I just think this is going to be a nice tight game, easier for them to hang in it. Doesn't mean the Cowboys are going to shut everybody down. I probably expect a big game from Rashee Rice. He's a little banged up, I believe, questionable with a hamstring injury. Another one who's probably not going to practice in more than a limited capacity if he's questionable in the, the Monday's practice estimation and a short week. But currently projecting him for 76 receiving yards, a 48% touchdown probability. I imagine he'll probably have a game similar to A.J. Brown this past week. Nice little 100+ yards, touchdown. Still not something the Cowboys have had great success at, is shutting down wide receivers, even though they've looked a little bit better in recent weeks. Might play that same ladder and follow you into the dark with that one, Greg.
Hey, I will never be an anti Dallas Cowboys best receiver ladder. I think it's the smartest way to bet player props in the NFL this season, quite frankly. Dave, if I'm hearing you correctly, you mean to tell me that the Dimers model leans to the underdog and the over in a Dallas Cowboys game? Do I have that correct?
Yeah, you do have that correctly. It's not the automatic trend it was earlier this season. It did go under this past week, but the dog has pretty much been straight money in it, so I'm certainly gonna ride with that. I personally think it's gonna go under, so don't hold me to it to the Dimers model's results, but it's just my personal feeling given what we've seen from these teams, and I expect kind of just a gritty competitive game. The Cowboys are playing with a lot of momentum here. The Chiefs still kind of looking for their identity. And, that Cowboys offense is just ridiculous. It's very hard to keep them out of the end zone, as you saw this past week. Eagles did so for the better part of 2 quarters and lost the game. So,
yeah. All right. I like it. I'm going to do something I very rarely do. And I'm going to kind of let what you're saying go in one ear and out the other as far as the under goes. Dude, all year long, I've been waiting for our model to just tell me to bet the formula with the Cowboys. It's Thanksgiving. It's telling me to bet it. I have to take it. I mean, I even look at the Philadelphia game last week, right? They're getting smacked. They have nothing going for them. And that offense just went lights out for the final 2.5 quarters of that game. You're never out of it with Dallas. It's just a fun team to back. It's fun team to bet overs on against bad quarterbacks, let alone against Patrick Mahomes. So I will say I'm just going to blindly follow the model here. I'm going to back Dallas plus 3.5. I love getting a field goal. I'm going to back Dallas and just an over game for me. Root for points. If I don't hit it, I'm not even going to be that upset rooting for Dak and Pat Mahomes to have a crazy game. And
certainly not.
Dave, in the spirit of togetherness and Pilgrims and Native Americans here, I'm going to back your Cowboys to win this game outright as well.
Thank you, Greg. I appreciate the solidarity. I'll be rooting. I'll have on my Cowboys ugly sweater and be eating some pumpkin pie and turkey and pulling for my boys to go over 500 for the first time this season.
It might be time to do the Dimer Sports Betting Podcast Togetherness Thanksgiving Parlay. Dave's team and Greg's team to win outright. Cowboys, Lions. Wonder what that is. I'm trying to think what the odds would be at a plus. Probably over 2-1, maybe.
Yeah, probably about 280 or so. Cowboys are plus 150. Lions are probably like minus 135.
Yeah, that's probably
we should know this. We just looked at it, but yeah.
3-1 ish. Yeah, I'm in. I think I'm adding that in the spirit of togetherness. How about the night Thanksgiving game? At least I assume this is the night Thanksgiving game. Bengals and Ravens. Ravens favored by 7 here against Cincinnati. Totals at 51.5.
Yeah, pretty sizable spread here. I kind of feel like I'm missing something because we're expecting Joe Burrow back. Bengals have been hanging in with teams. I mean, they just did against the Patriots, who I don't think we're going to sit here and say are a worse team than the Ravens. So Interesting line for me. Models got this 57% for the Bengals at +7. High value signal at 4.6%. So this is the best edge of all of the games we're looking at here. We got under 52, also an edge, 56%, almost 3% edge for a value there. This has bounced a little bit, 52, 51.5. Nothing crazy, but depending where you're looking, you might see a slightly different number. And then a 30.5% probability for Cincy on the upset. Solid edge there, 4.5%, plus 285. So this game is loaded with value. Models really loving Cincy. Has a lot of the year, and we've been correct on them in this podcast a couple times. But yeah, as mentioned, after a little tease last week, now we actually get Joe Burrow back for his first action since early in week 2. He has confirmed this himself as much, at least through, posting on Instagram and stuff. But we should see Joe Burrow in this game. Love the model's value here. Bengals +7. I do not really like the total at all. If I had to pick one, I'm not just because of the edge and the value, but I'm taking the Bengals +7. The Bengals defense and frankly Ravens for much of the season has been bad. It feels like they only go over. They are both tied for 7-4, which is the best over record in the NFL. So they don't only go over, but they do more often than any other teams in the league. Both of them. There could be an adjustment here with Burrow back, but I really just hate what I'm seeing from the Ravens offense lately.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got Lamar in fantasy or have been betting on him to do anything with touchdowns lately, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Under 200 passing yards in 3 straight games, 57 total rushing yards, and no scores in that span on the ground. A 1 touchdown to 2 INT ratio. Just a very bleak, gross, unreliable output of this offense. Zay Flowers has 5 receptions twice, I believe, in the past 4 games since Lamar returned. That is the highest by any pass catcher in this offense. He led the game with 4, and I believe he led the game with 3 in 2 other games. Just really gross stuff from the Ravens offense. So don't really love the number here. I would stick with the spread more than anything because you're getting bad defenses and unpredictable offense, which is just a rough combination to navigate for me. Props wise, looking at projections here, I mean, Derrick Henry should steamroll. Model has him 92 projected rushing yards, 67% TD probability. Bengals have the 31st ranked rushing defense this season, have been bad all year consistently, not seemingly getting any spots where they've been able to slow anyone down, really at all, but particularly on the ground. Another interesting angle for me here, which is one we've talked about a lot on the show, but the Bengals still at this day have the worst defense versus tight ends. Hunter Henry was the leading receiver this past week with 7 catches, 115 yards, and a touchdown. Got a 41% touchdown probability for Mark Andrews. Looks like a pretty good Mark Andrews spot for me. He's been a little old reliable for Lamar Jackson lately, even though he's not been doing a whole lot. He's got 4 touchdowns in this past 4 games. One of those is the fake tush push rush for like 35 yards, but 3 receiving touchdowns as well. Mark Andrews probably in a very good spot here. And with Zay Flowers leading with about 5 catches, I think you want to look somewhere else for some offensive production.
I can totally see the line of thought here. I think I'm confused. My first glance was the same gut feel that you had of that's a big number. It's a big number for a Cincy team that we were on last week, that the model advised to be on last week, that honestly, it got a little dicey late just at the number, but like pretty much cruised to a cover, was leading that game for much of the game. I haven't trusted Baltimore all year long. They've gotten better, obviously, as they've gotten healthier, but this is a pretty clear, just like play the number to me. Getting a full touchdown against an inconsistent Ravens team with a Bengals team that's been hard to put away, no matter who's been out for them. I think that's where I'm headed with this game without too much debate on it. If the model shows a slight edge, that's enough for me. One more special game this week is the Black Friday game. You alluded to it earlier in the show briefly. It's Chicago at Philadelphia. Eagles by a full touchdown, total at 44 here. Bears have been a hot team for our model this year, and it looks like we're showing value again.
At least as far as covering the spread in the final projected score, we've got 25-19 Eagles, but a total 50-50% toss up on the probability. It's not one that I personally like like have a strong feeling against, but it similarly to the Bengals game, it just doesn't feel like kind of the right number for what we've seen from these two teams lately. Eagles having tons of difficulty scoring late in games, Bears winning dirty, often with fourth quarter comebacks, big ones sometimes, over 14 points to come back from in that Giants game, coming back with multiple lead changes late in that Bengals game. Just a game that doesn't seem like it should be 7 points, especially after what we just saw from both these teams this past week. Total negative edge in all three markets. So not really any value to speak of whatsoever. 52% probability to the over. So if you're looking for any type of lean, that's what we got here. Don't hate that at all, especially with all those late late Bears scoring opportunities that they've had. It's a good way to push the number over, especially at the end, a little backdoor. The Bears money line, 26%, plus 265. Not fair odds there. Unlike the last two games, just really no edge to speak of in this one. Both teams sport 7-4 against the spread records this season. They're both 8-3 division leaders, so a lot of similarities between the two on paper. I think they're meeting with a lot more on the line for the Bears division-wise. The Eagles probably aren't losing the NFC East here, but I think a lot more on the line more broadly for the Eagles, given coming off that worst loss of the season, probably against the Cowboys, coughing up a 21-point lead, completely shut down in not just the second half. The final points for the Eagles came with 11 minutes and 32 seconds to go in the second quarter. Just unreal stuff here for a team that has had so many vocal issues with who's getting the ball, who's touching the ball, what is the team doing rushing wise or passing wise, and gotten away with a lot of wins lately, I think, and that finally caught up to them this past week. Now they're catching a Bears team who are on a 4-game win streak. As mentioned, don't always get it done cleanly. Lots of in-game chaos, but it's working for them. They have Ben Johnson's creativity, enough to throw off the Eagles, who looked very uninspired on defense this past week. The Cowboys shot themselves in the foot multiple times in that game. Early on, they had chances and they didn't get it. They gave up drives because of penalties, let the Eagles extend drives, rather. It wasn't exactly an Eagles shutdown effort that was keeping the Cowboys scoreless for most of the first half. So, I don't know. Eagles get much needed benefit of this game being at home. Certainly, you have that. Bears' schedule gets really tough after this. You would expect them to play pretty hard, as they probably want to bank a win here in the competitive NFC North. But if I'm picking a team, it's the Bears +7, but the model is totally 50-50 on that in this game and no value on the over. So,
yeah, Chicago, what have they won now? Is it 8 of 9? Feels insane to say that out loud, but yeah, they started 0-2 and they've won 8 of 9 games. Really this year, I mean, anytime there's a one possession game, they've just found ways to do it. Going back to that week 1 loss to JJ McCarthy, like you really have to, you kind of got to steamroll them. That's how I view this Bears team. If you can get out 2 scores ahead of them and create some separation, obviously you can roll. But if you let them hang, they will hang and they will find ways to grit and grind their way through it. I do think Philly has the firepower to do that. So this is probably a no touch for me. I, as much as I love Chicago too, like I am privy and open to the idea that at some point their good fortune in close games will come crashing down against them. Maybe that's this week against Philadelphia. The Monungai storyline is the one for me. He's taking DeAndre Swift's job. And
it's coming.
It like a full-blown pass of the torch, I think, is coming at some point. Now, is it going to happen against DeAndre Swift's former team in Philadelphia? I don't know. But that's what I'm continuing to watch, is just what happens in the backfield for Chicago.
Yeah, out-touched him significantly. Well, 12-8 last week, but far more efficient. DeAndre Swift, just 1.9 yards per carry on that 8 yards. Monangai is the red zone guy without a doubt. Scored in 3 straight. That's exactly how long DeAndre Swift's touchdown drought is. All the scoring equity is in his favor right now. He's got a little edge for 1+ and 2+. Last I checked, with 38% for an anytime TD, and 38%, and 8.2% for a pair of touchdowns for a Monangai. Cowboys found themselves in the red zone every touchdown came in the red zone. And if the Bears find themselves there, like I said, it's all Monangai with the scoring chances lately. So something to look at. Saquon Barkley also 44% TD probability, 78-yard projection, coming off his worst game since Week 15 of 2023. Fortunately, does get a Bears defense allowing 138 rushing yards per game. If Saquon were going to have a bounce back game anytime soon, it would be this one. I think the Eagles' chances to probably win this game, or at least cover the spread, would lie in Saquon having kind of a vintage game here. If the Bears can shut him down similar to the way the Cowboys did, I think it's going to be a very long afternoon for Philly.
Yep.
Is it an afternoon? 3 p.m. Yes, afternoon on Black Friday.
Nothing like a 3 p.m. NFL kick on Black Friday. You gotta love this week, man. Isn't it the best?
Yeah.
All right, Dimers Pro. Make sure you have it this week with all these random game times and just so much sports going on. Feast week in college basketball, rivalry week in college football, special holiday week of NFL. Whenever you wake up and you're like, oh no, there's games in an hour, I need to figure out what I'm placing my bet on. Dimers Pro will help you. Make sure you get it 50% off with promo code podcast. You can get your insights for every single game this week.